What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another ShowMeFootball.com Kansas City Chiefs post-game show, Sunday Night Football. So obviously this one's going to be pretty late. So I appreciate all of you who are going to end up joining us tonight, especially when we're competing with a few other streams. Always means a lot when you guys show up here instead of there. And tonight I'm also joined by Hydra once again, who is on a Twitter hiatus right now. But if you guys still want to go follow him on Twitter, you can. I'm sure he'll be back at some point.
Maybe we'll see.
But yeah, Hydra, what's up? How you been? And what did you think of the game?
Man, I've been good. I thought this game was positive. I mean, all around. Besides special teams, like offense looked good, defense looked good.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, in my notes, the first thing I wrote is wow, because I don't know what got into the Chiefs this game. It seems like they're back. And Eric, I'm gonna highlight his comment real quick. He says, "I'm going to sleep. Mahomes MVP, though." I think I want to start with. I think Mahomes is back in the MVP conversation after this game. Not even because he's played great this year, because he's had a few stinkers. But when you look at the way all these other players who were once in the MVP conversation have kind of, it seems like no one wants to win the award. And here you go. Mahomes has a 400-yard, 5-touchdown game, and he's right back in it.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes, he's had a few bad games, especially recently. But yeah, like you talked about it, I think like all of the MVP frontrunners have kind of had bad games recently. So it's not necessarily like that was only Mahomes that was happening towards. And like you said, like he just had a monster game. So if he can keep that up, he can definitely be in the conversation.
Yeah, and going off that, I want to talk about the offense. First of all, I just all year I have been super frustrated with Andy Reid's play calling, but tonight was an Andy Reid masterclass, especially that second drive, not the one where they first got the ball at the beginning of the game, which, by the way, I did like the fact that even though they didn't score on that first drive, that the Raiders won the toss and chose to defer, because I thought that was a shakeup that the Chiefs needed, maybe going out there and being the first ones to score instead of, betting on your defense and getting the ball in the second half. But that's not my point. But that second drive after that was amazing. Great play calling from Reid. The one complaint I will say that I have tonight is that, Derek Gore Derek Gore, I think, is more effective at this than Darrell Williams or even Clyde, but he tends to run these running backs on these wide zone concepts, and they are not athletic or fast enough running backs to get to those spots that are drawn up for them. That's one thing that did annoy me a little bit. But besides that, I mean, I love the play calling this game. And even though Mahomes missed quite a few of those deep shots tonight, Reid just let him keep firing, and eventually it paid off. Byron Pringle had a nice touchdown tonight later towards the end there. Tyreek Hill was magnificent in the red zone. Travis Kelce, who people were trying to start this conversation that he's washed now. I think we can put that to bed. Really, the entire offense was just clicking on all cylinders, and you really love to see it after how much they've struggled. We were all hoping that after the Packers game, that first down that sealed it on the last drive for Patrick Mahomes, he really showed some fire, and everyone's like, I think that pass at the end there really got him going. Like, he reacted differently to that than he typically does. It almost looked like he got his swagger back, and he really seemed to have carried that into this game. I think all the Chiefs knew, like, this was pretty much as close as it gets to a must-win game if it wasn't a must-win game. But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing game. Everyone was getting involved too. Although one thing I did put in my notes, something that is still just mind-boggling to me, is how we cannot get Josh Gordon any targets, like not even a mere target. Even in a game like this, like towards the end, you're telling me you couldn't have put Josh Gordon in there and, got him going a little bit in this offense. That was a little strange to me. Demarcus Robinson still seems to be getting targets over him.
Running sideways and backwards.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling to me. In fact, and I see a comment on it right now. I want to see Josh Gordon. Yeah, me too. Like, I think he still has that ability. And the way they, who did they do it with early in the game? There was somebody who they were just going to him quick, like a couple design plays to them. I meant to put that in my
Noah
notes.
Gray.
Yes, exactly.
I was about to talk about that. Yeah, Noah Gray, I thought this game we started getting him more involved. I think that one drive that he had the touchdown, he had like 3 or 4 targets
Yep, like
before the
all in a
touchdown.
row. Like they were
Yeah,
trying to get him involved. I want to see them do that, but with
I
Josh Gordon as well.
yeah, I also like I saw him just get more routes. Normally we use him more for blocking and then maybe like a release route, like a flat or something. I saw him get a lot of routes this game, or at least significantly more than he normally does. So I'm hoping that we get him more involved because him and Jody Fortson, kind of like in the preseason and training camp, were both, uh, you just kept hearing great things about them, and they both didn't really do anything in preseason. And then obviously the regular season starts. Jody Fortson immediately, started taking off. And ever since he went down, it's kind of like Blake Bell just hasn't been able to step up. So I'm hoping that Noah Gray can kind of, step up into that number 2 tight end role.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to add to that real quick, but I wanted to highlight this comment from Lena. Guys, support this by liking the video. Like, share, and subscribe. Like I always say, so more Chiefs fans can find this, and we appreciate you guys joining us on this late night to talk Chiefs.
Yes.
But yeah, Noah Gray also, not only are they getting him more involved receiving, they've had him as one of the main blockers on quite a few of their catch and runs and their running plays, and he's looked pretty good at that too, which is something they also missed when they lost Jody Fortson, because Jody Fortson really came along as a blocker as well.
Yeah, that's one thing that Ryan Tracy at RGR has been talking about recently, that Noah Gray has been getting more and more involved, especially has been improving as a blocker. So I think, he and Jody Fortson both going forward, I think if those are your number 2 and 3 guys behind Travis Kelce, I think this team's going to be in pretty good shape.
Well, and they even got Blake Bell going tonight with the quarterback sneak. And I can say
That's
quarterback
right.
sneak with Blake Bell because he was a quarterback in college. That was really cool, though. I like the way they're getting creative with running these sneaks without using Patrick Mahomes, because we all know after the one time they sneaked Patrick Mahomes, we all kind of mutually agreed that they should never do that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that play call. Something else I put in my notes is Orlando Brown really held his own against Yannick Ngakoue tonight. And I just want to give him a shout out overall, because it seems like this fan base was quick to bury him. And look, I was critical of his
Me
play
included.
too. Yeah. And I was critical of his play, but even against the Packers last week, he had his highest graded game pass blocking, if I'm not mistaken. He's really settled in with this offense.
Yeah, the thing with Orlando Brown, with me specifically, is I wasn't exactly saying he was a horrible player. It was just one of those things that if it comes down to paying him over Tyrann Mathieu, is that really something that you want to do? I don't know, because Tyrann Mathieu, we saw it just week 1 in general, right? When he's not in the game, this defense is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Slim is chilling. I'm going to highlight his comment too. He said Wiley did good versus Crosby, and we called plays to isolate and exploit him with RPOs. They did a good job scheming around the fact it wasn't an ideal situation at right tackle tonight. But even though Wiley had a few hiccups, he actually did really good on Max Crosby, who is, firmly in the race for Defensive Player of the Year. Let's not forget.
I thought they did a good job of helping him also, and I think it was either 2 or 3 different plays where Kelce would kind of just take Crosby away from Wiley completely and then release, and then
one of their first downs came on doing exactly that.
Yep.
And then he went after Mahomes, Crosby did, and Kelce got free, and he just threw it to him right after.
Yeah, I thought play calling just all around was great tonight on both offense and defense. The thing that I really have noticed these past few weeks with L'Jarius Snead specifically, I know I'm kind of transitioning to defense here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Once we put Fenton in as a starter and Snead got comfortable in one role, it seems like he has just looked exactly the same as last year. Because, early on last year when we just had him on the outside, it seemed like he was comfortable and really good, right? And then, he came back from his collarbone injury. We had him in the slot, and he was looking really good, right? This year we've been moving him around. He's been kind of, off, wasn't looking like the same player.
Yeah,
But I feel like
I feel like they gave him too large of a load to begin the year.
especially now, not only in coverage, but especially, we're seeing that blitzing ability, and we saw that multiple times tonight. I think 2 or 3 times where he basically, was about to sack Derek Carr, and he just kind of threw it up. And I think one of those was a pick. I think it might have been Sorensen's pick, and then another one was just like incomplete pass. It should have been picked by Thornhill. So I think that overall the coaching staff has really improved these past few weeks.
Yes.
And that's the one thing that we were super critical of, and I'm very pleased with what we've seen.
Yeah, no, I think half the issues this year could be attributed to coaching. I hated some of the personnel decisions. I thought Reid, actually, I'll get your take on this too. I heard a lot of like, oh, it's the enemy calling the plays, or oh, Reid's doing a terrible job. I don't know who it is calling the plays. Now, I'll just ask you, who do you think's calling the plays? Like, do you believe this be enemy stuff?
I think it's Andy.
I do too. I don't.
A lot of the time you see Mahomes kind of go up to Bieniemy, but Bieniemy goes right up to Reid after that. So I think, it's more one of those things where they're both kind of having input.
I
feel at the end of the day, it's Reid.
I feel like the best way I could, I guess, I don't know. I feel like the best description for it is Bieniemy calls plays technically, but every single one is run by Reid.
Yeah,
before it's called.
Exactly.
So, but either way, the play calling was not great to start the year. Also, this is a conversation I was looking forward to having tonight. I know it's a hot topic right now, Darrell Williams or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's better. And I think we can safely say Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the more talented back, and he was the more highly touted back. And I'm not going to tell you Darrell Williams is better, but the gap certainly isn't as large as some Chiefs fans make it out to be. And you saw it tonight. Darrell Williams had 220-plus run yards tonight.
Yeah.
And that was one short of tying the same amount of Clyde Edwards-Helaire 20-plus yard runs in his career. He has 3 in his career. Darrell Williams had 2 tonight. And Darrell Williams had 100 yards receiving. And holy Christ, that touchdown reception over Jonathan Abram. I mean, I didn't know Darrell was capable of that. And for damn sure Clyde would not make a catch like that. And I don't mean to just like use this to bang on Clyde, but like, man, the adjustment that Williams made to make that catch, and he had just enough, size on him to be able to make that catch. I was legitimately, my jaw was dropped after that touchdown. He had 101 yards receiving tonight, which is more than Clyde has ever had in the game. He also had the receiving touchdown, of course. I thought he looked fantastic tonight. He did his job, 3.9 yards per carry as well on the ground, on 11 carries for 43 yards. Again, I'm sure Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the more talented back and everything, but it really seems like this rushing offense hasn't missed a beat since he's been gone. I understand that he had the 2 100-yard games before getting hurt, but those were against some really poor defenses. And the other thing, too, is that, look, people kind of made it seem like our rushing offense really needed Clyde back, and our offense needed Clyde back in general. I saw a lot of, the offense has really sputtered since Clyde has been out of the lineup. I think that was more coincidence than Clyde having an effect. Like, look, you can't convince me that Patrick Mahomes is missing wide open receivers because Clyde isn't there to go 15 for 56 yards. Like, come on now. But I don't think the Chiefs were incapable of running the ball either. The problem was the way they were calling these run plays and how they were drawing up running plays for the wrong running back at times was infuriating. Like, for example, Derek Gore looked really good against the New York Giants, and then next week against Green Bay, he only gets 3 carries. I thought that was a huge mistake. He looked like he looked like your best running back against the Giants, and then he just completely disappears the next game. I didn't really understand that. Anyway, I'm really kind of dragging this out. Darrell Williams had a great game, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
I thought Darrell looked faster than he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
he looked like he had way more burst. But going back to that catch you were talking about, it's really surprising that he didn't let it hit him in the face mask.
Yeah. I guess that's a Super Bowl reference, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know how that happened.
Anyways, that would have just been like the greatest play ever, but it's fine.
Yeah, he ruined it.
I
Le'Veon
thought,
Bell doesn't drop that. Just saying.
yep,
I'm a Le'Veon Bell truther.
you and me were screaming that.
I will always be a Bell truther.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I thought he ran really good tonight. I thought he looked really quick. Especially like for him, for his standards. Like you said, receiving wise, he was great. I just think he really kind of established himself as a NFL starting caliber running back, and we kind of saw that last year in the playoffs. But I feel like going back to kind of what you were saying, like it really kind of shows there is not that much of a gap between him and Clyde at all.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out too is that Matt Derrick tweeted this out on Twitter. Great follow if you guys aren't already following him. He's frequently, he frequently appears on the RGR channel as well. But he tweeted that I think so Darrell ended the night with 9 receptions. He is actually the first running back to have 7 receptions or more in a game since Damian Williams in 2018 versus the Seahawks. And to me, that goes to show how great this offense can be when Mahomes is actually taking the checkdowns. I noticed tonight that he was going for the checkdown a lot more often. He looked a lot more comfortable doing so, and he just knew when to play it and how to do it. And it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys would know I'm not a fan of the whole check down thing, but I thought he did take a step forward. I thought he still had a few questionable throws, definitely.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. Yeah, it seems like every game now he has 1 or 2 of those. What are you doing? That could have been really bad.
Yeah. I will say on that one to Hardman, I don't know what, like, it seems like Hardman, whenever there's a contested catch, he like never jumps. Like he never actually goes up to try and get the ball. He just kind of runs into it.
Yeah, Hardman, I feel like is in the doghouse a little bit, even though he had that one really nice catch that almost went for a touchdown. I think we were all collectively holding our breath with McColl, hoping he wouldn't fumble when he got the ball there.
That was my exact, when he got popped at the end, I was like, okay, 2 weeks ago he had this same thing happen and he fumbled.
Yeah, I super scared McColl. And speaking of him being in the doghouse, I think he was in the doghouse on special teams as well, because they actually tried something else out on special teams. We'll dip into special teams talk a little bit here since they were actually a big factor tonight. They tried out Mike Hughes as a punt returner. Now, I will say that fumble that he had is totally inexcusable. It could have been backbreaking. And the most embarrassing part is it was forced by the Raiders punter. But I will say that I'm actually appreciative that Dave Toub made the executive decision to try something new and to try Mike Hughes, who I thought was their best returner in preseason. And he has always been viewed as a good returner. So, and besides that fumble, it was a great return right before then. And I hope they keep Hughes at returner, because even though he had that fumble, one thing that you have to consider when talking about switching to someone on special teams, when they haven't taken real snaps as a returner for so long, you can kind of expect a fumble to happen sometimes. Like I remember in 2019 in the AFC divisional against the Houston Texans, at one point when the Chiefs were down, I forget if it was like 17-0 or 21-0, whenever, they put Tyreek Hill back on punt returns because they were so desperate to score points, and then Tyreek muffs the punt. And to me, that was on the coaching staff, because it had been so long since Tyreek Hill had actually fielded a punt that you put him in a bad position, even though technically, Hill shouldn't have muffed that. But you got to get players comfortable. Like, it's really hard sometimes when you just throw them in on punt return team.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, we've seen McCole Hardman throughout his whole career struggle with holding onto the ball on returns, and Pringle also had two.
Yeah, he's had 2 this year.
Yeah, 2 fumbles this year. I mean, the team as a whole has not been able to hold on to the ball, so I don't want to really, hold that against them. But I don't know. It does just seem kind of like it is just kind of funny that whoever we put back there, you can't really trust them to hold on to the ball. So it kind of makes you wonder if we should even return punts and kicks at this
Yeah.
point.
Like I was saying to you before we started, I
Yep.
mean, you can make a real case that the Chiefs should just stop returning punts altogether, especially when a lot of them have been fair caught at like the 10-yard line when you'd be better off just letting them bounce. Um, even I forget which game it was, but Ian Eagle was calling the game, and he goes, and McCole Hardman with the fair catch. Why? Right after, like, even he was like, "What the heck are you doing, McCole?" And you usually don't hear announcers like openly be like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yeah.
But yeah, that was funny to me. And then I wanted to highlight this comment because Cole says, finally, Andy didn't take his foot off the gas pedal. And that made me really happy tonight that he went for the jugular, especially with the Tommy Townsend fake punt throw to Marcus Kemp. That was amazing. I think Tommy Townsend actually has a perfect passer rating.
Yeah, he does.
So far in his career, which is awesome. But yeah, that was a great call. It was a gutsy call. And I love Reid going for the jugular. And a part of me feels like that if John Gruden was still a coach of the Raiders, that would not have been called because Reid and Gruden were buddies, and usually Reid does not run up the score on his friends. Um, but that's just me. But I was really glad to see that he blew the Raiders out tonight and really went for it.
Yeah, I think we had 2 or 3 fourth down conversions. We didn't really punt it. We didn't really, go for field goals in the red zone. We just kind of always were going for it. And I really think we needed that. Moving forward, that's
Yeah,
just going to give us so much momentum.
went for it on both fourth downs tonight. I did feel like they got a little too cute a couple times, but luckily, like I know on the first fourth down they went for, they just ran it straight up the middle like they should have, and it worked.
Yep.
It was simple and it worked. And look, you have Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, who once again had a great game. Shocker,
Creed
right?
Humphrey was amazing tonight.
Yeah, he really was. But if you just run it behind them, I said this in the last post game I did without you since you couldn't join. I think this was a Green Bay one. I remember there was a frustrating play from McCole where he dropped it on 3rd and 2 when they went to him. Like on that play, I'd much rather hand it off to one of your running backs behind Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, who I think we can safely say has been one of the best run blocking duos in all of football this year.
100%.
And look, I would rather take that play call every single time over throwing to McCole Hardman on 3rd and 2. I'd rather run behind those two.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think isn't Trey Smith graded as a higher ranked guard than Joe Thuney?
I would have to double check on that, but I would not be surprised.
I think Smith is 4 and then Thuney's 6, I want to say.
Yeah, they're really close together. Look, you can make a case for them too as one of the best guard combos in the league. I mean, it is amazing that interior 3, man.
Yeah.
I did not expect them to be this good. And Trey Smith, I mean, there were questions about him in pass protection, but he really cleaned up every single mechanical flaw that he had coming out of college, and he looks great. Sometimes he'll get beat, and when he gets beat, you can tell, but it hasn't happened so much to the point where you're like, man, Trey Smith's run blocking is really good, but man, his pass blocking could be a lot better. No, like his pass blocking has been just fine.
Yeah.
So, I'm really appreciative of Trey Smith. I mean, what a pick that was.
Steal.
I want to go over this comment real quick from Lego My Ego. Was it just me, or did the Chiefs just come out looking like they were having tons of fun, like the air has just been cleared? Yeah. I mean, it did look like that. And also, I think part of it was they were going up against a divisional opponent, and it was a divisional opponent that I think was, pretty down from everything that has gone on in that organization for some time.
Yeah, I think we finally saw the team have some energy both last week and this week, and you see the difference that makes. We see, Travis Kelce and Mahomes actually enjoying themselves on the sideline. Tyrann Mathieu getting pumped. I mean, Chris Jones having an amazing game once more. This team's finally looking like its old self. And that just starts with the energy, because before it seemed like the team had absolutely no fire.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's all I had to talk about regarding the offense. I mean, really, glad to see them play a complete game. That was the best game they've probably played since the Jets last year.
Yeah.
It was finally a complete game.
I agree. And you saw, Mahomes, like we kind of talked about, spreading the ball around to everyone except for Josh Gordon.
Yeah. maybe at some point Gordon will get a target.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like every time he does get a target, something bad happens. So,
I mean, and some of that I feel like is forcing the ball to him, and then they force it to him, it doesn't work, and they just go, "Oh, okay, we're not going to do that anymore." It's like, no, you can't just quit after the first try. Like you got to get him
I think that's exactly what it is.
Like you need to have an entire drive that is surrounded by let's get Josh Gordon going. And
I think
they just haven't done that yet.
I think it's kind of the same thing that you said with, returning punts. We can't just throw it to him one time a game and expect him to catch it and turn and run with it. He's so surprised when he does get the ball because he literally gets like one target a game, if that. I don't think he had any this game.
Yeah,
but,
no, he has like 4 targets in 5 weeks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like his first catch was great. And then, he's targeted. It gets tipped and picked. Targeted next game, tipped and picked. I think targeted like 2 more times after that against I don't even remember what game it was, but anyways, he had like 2 more drops. So, I don't know. We got to find a way to get him involved, and I think you got to target him consistently. I didn't see him on the field that much today, and when I did, it seemed like it was run plays.
Yeah, it does seem like they're using him primarily as a blocking wide receiver, and look, I said it the last time when I was on Michael Darcy's channel, KC Sports Report. I want it so bad for him because all football aside, he has completely turned his life around, it seems, and he really wants to make KC a long-term home, and I want it so bad for him. And he's not there yet, and I really want him to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, he has been out of football for a while, but that didn't really seem to stop him in the past. I think it's just honestly, I don't know what it is with this team, but we bring in, veterans on offense and like halfway through the season, and then we just don't get them involved. I think if he does resign after this year and he has like a full off season for, Mahomes to really get comfortable, then I think then, he could be more of a long-term option, like you said. I don't. It's something about this team when we bring people on, LaShawn McCoy, Le'Veon Bell, now Josh Gordon. We just don't like to get them involved for whatever reason.
And they're so quick to go away from them too. Like I will stand by the fact you go back and watch, that first like quarter of the 2019 season. Fumbles aside, LaShawn McCoy was their best runner.
He was great.
It was not close. He was their best runner, and then he had the fumbles and went in the doghouse. They never went back to him after that. Le'Veon Bell, I just thought the guy didn't get the ball enough. He was actually effective in limited snaps, in my opinion. I can
in the receiving game, not as much in the run game, but whenever he touched the ball, whenever he got the ball thrown to him, it seemed like he was always making 1 or 2 guys miss.
Well, and the most frustrating thing to me too is there were so many Clyde EdwardsHelaire apologists out there because the run blocking was terrible on this offensive line. And yeah, that was true. But how come Le'Veon Bell didn't get that same benefit of the doubt? You don't think Le'Veon Bell would look like a competent running back once again behind this offensive line? I mean, come on. But yeah, we're kind of going off on a tangent. Yep. So let's transition to the defense. Another part that I was looking forward to. And this was not the Daniel Jones Giants. This was not the Jordan Love Green Bay Packers. The Raiders offense, you can consider that a real opponent. And look, I know they lost Henry Ruggs, and that's a whole another thing, but they had Deshaun Jackson, who kind of replicates the Henry Ruggs role a little bit, even though Deshaun Jackson wasn't great tonight. And we'll talk about that play that he had. But my point is the Raiders offense is one that you can actually take something from this defensive performance. Not that I didn't take anything from their last couple defensive performances, but like this only like solidifies it, it only validates it. The entire defensive line, once again, had a good game. They got pressure on Derek Carr. I was a little upset to see that they had Chris Jones lining up on defensive end a lot. He's so dominant inside, and you saw it at the end of the game there too. He had 2 straight batted down passes. He had a QB hit. I mean, he's so dominant from inside. It's just foolish to use him on the edge. And I noticed that on third down, they were taking Melvin Ingram out of the game to play Jones at defensive end instead of keeping Ingram and moving Jones inside, which gives you a better overall pass rush. And that was frustrating to me. I'm going to get the negatives out of the way here. Spags can't stay out of his own way still. Anthony Hitchens was playing a lot of middle. They had him 30 yards down the field covering Brian Edwards. I mean, what the hell, Spags?
I will say on that play specifically, I think Tyron was a little late over the top because Thornhill was, he was over the top of Waller. And you kind of saw that Matthew was like a step or two late. But yeah, I agree. We shouldn't have Hitchens covering, but it probably would have been the same outcome if it was Bolton there or Neiman, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to have Willie at that spot. So, I mean, I think that's more on Tyron.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would rather not have any of our linebackers on one of their better receivers, but sometimes that's just, in order to strengthen other parts of your defense, you have to take away in some areas. I will say, I think Clark kind of came back down to earth a little bit in this game after his couple good performances, and I think that was mostly because he actually went up against a pretty good left tackle in Colton Miller. The last couple games, no. Giants, not a great O-line. Green Bay Packers without David Bakhtiari, but he did get held a few times, I noticed. Really, our entire defensive line was getting held. There was another play, too, on the – let's talk about the Deshaun Jackson fumble play, because that play was an entire that was a mess. So, first of all, if Deshaun Jackson actually held onto that ball, that was a point in the game where I was going to tweet out or say something like, oh man, here comes the defense, they're back, because before that they had given up the touchdown on like a 3-minute drive by the Raiders. I was like, oh god, here they go, they've come back down to earth. But then and Tyron should have intercepted that ball to Deshaun Jackson, by the way.
Yep.
And then he doesn't, but Fenton knocks it out and Matthew recovers it. But right before that, Melvin Ingram got absolutely clotheslined by the Raiders right tackle and no flag. I was screaming, and I was watching this game on my my antenna because it's actually not as delayed as my TV provider. So I couldn't rewind and go to the play, but I so wish I could rewind, and I'm probably going to find the play at some point and like tweet it out. But I mean, he got absolutely clotheslined, and it was a complete joke. And Bill Vinovich is actually a pretty fair ref when he does Chiefs games. I actually like Bill Vinovich, but Jesus, he was bad tonight because it seemed like they were holding us on almost every play.
I didn't really notice that as much. I was more focused on the linebackers in the secondary. Whenever I did see the D-line, like you said, it was all positive, getting pressure from everybody. I mean, even Derek Nottie had a sack tonight.
Yeah. And Derek Nottie could have had another one, but he also got held on the Raiders' first touchdown. That was one of the more obvious ones. Also, give it up for Jarran Reid. He's back. He finally did something. He got a sack tonight. He also caused some pressure. I mean, that if Jarran Reid is getting pressures and Daniel Sorensen is getting interceptions, I mean, you need to fold your franchise.
And he stole it from Thornhill.
Yeah.
That's just...
And it's funny because Connor, he said in my group chat that I have with him and a couple friends that interception from Dan Sorensen is going to secure his playing time for the next 2 years.
Probably.
And you know it's right. You know he's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also doesn't help that Thornhill dropped another pick later in the game.
Yeah. But sticking with the secondary, you kind of touched on Snead earlier, and he's looked fantastic as of lately, especially in the run game. Like, anytime an opposing team runs the ball, Snead is immediately coming in to help and tackle the ball carrier.
Bro, it's him and Willie Gay every time.
This defense is flying around more than they did earlier this season.
It's crazy how you play, your best athletes and good things happen.
Yep. And we're going to talk about a couple other of those positions in which they probably need to play better athletes. Also, Fenton, shout out to him. I thought he played pretty well tonight once again. Aside from the pass interference or holding, I forget which one it was on Brian Edwards. It was kind of a ticky-tack call.
I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, but other than that, he played well. But yeah, I mean, this defense seems to be flying around, and I think part of it too is that they're starting to really get down the scheme. The first few weeks of the season, they were just running around like chickens with their head cut off, and they didn't know where to line up. You don't see it as much anymore, and that's always a good thing. I always thought it was because Steve Spagnuolo was totally overcomplicating things. His scheme was too complicated, but I don't know if he dumbed it down or if they just took a while to learn it. But either way, it's working now. And also, Steve Spagnuolo, his defense, for it to work properly, needs to be able to get pressure with the
Yep.
defensive line. And that's been an area where the Chiefs have made strides too. I mean, they're getting pressure now, which is what they need. And that's why you have the defensive turnaround that you're having.
Yeah, and especially when you have that ability to get pressure with Ford, then it kind of sets up the ability to blitz guys like L'Jarius Snead and then just completely catch the offense off guard. Like I said earlier, I thought Spag called a great game tonight.
Yeah, he really did. And the Chiefs actually didn't have to blitz a whole lot. Derek Carr is a quarterback that just in big moments always seems to crumble. And he did it once again tonight. I think he's 3-12 against KC now. All the Raiders fans were out of that building by the third quarter. It was all Chiefs fans. There was a tomahawk chop going at Allegiant Stadium. I mean, it was a great night to be a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I said it during the game to my brother. I was like, wow, Chiefs football is finally fun to watch again.
I know. It's their first it was the best game they played all year. I want to talk again about that last drive where some of the reserves got to play. Armani freaking Watts needs to play more.
Who would have thought?
He was in on that last drive. And look, I know it was garbage time and everything, but he was around the ball on every single play, almost had an interception, had 6 freaking tackles on the last drive alone.
Yeah.
He had 3 tackles and 2 assists.
And he was doing that at the safety position while we had Dan Sorensen at linebacker.
Yeah, he needs to be the third safety because as I and my guy Patrick Allen over at Arrowhead Addict have said before, if you play Armani Watts, the absolute worst case scenario is that he plays like Dan Sorensen, who is your current third safety. Think about that.
Yep. I said it before the show. Armani Watts has a higher floor than Sorensen does a ceiling.
Yeah. He absolutely needs to play more. With that being said, though, we almost covered everything. I'm going to ask you if you have any last thoughts on the defense or just overall, really. And then for those of you that are watching, one more time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And then if you have any last-minute comments or questions, go ahead and dump them in, and we'll go over them. But, yeah, Hydra, any last thoughts about this game?
You want to talk about Brett's comment there?
The last one?
Yeah. How exactly do you upgrade Tyrann Mathieu?
Yeah.
I don't think it gets much better than that.
Unless he got the safety positions mixed up, because I can understand the rationale behind wanting to replace Juan and Dan, but Tyrann is the strong safety on this team.
Yeah, he might be talking about Sorensen because we were kind of just talking about that.
Yeah, because I know Sorensen is kind of viewed as this in the box safety.
Yeah.
Because that's what his role should be, but for some reason they had him as the deep safety, which is where people get frustrated. Yeah, see, he said, yeah, he was talking about the other safety spot. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But the thing is, I think they have one on roster. They're just not playing him. Armani Watts. He needs to play.
You got to play your athletes, man.
And even Lego My Ego says it. Watts' shoestring tackle was a clutch stop. That was like his first one. I mean, it looked like he had zero chance on the angle, and then
Dan misses that.
Yeah, and then he gets a hold of the shoe and brings the guy down.
Yeah.
And again, I know it was the reserves and it was the end of the game, garbage time and everything, but you love to see it.
He looked better than Sorensen did all year.
Yep, he really did.
He did. Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Sorensen gives up a touchdown on that last drive. No question. Also, I'm going to be interested when the snap counts come out because I don't remember Ben Neiman playing a whole lot in this game.
Oh, no, I saw Sorensen, and we played a lot of dime, I feel like. I
Was he
saw
in there?
Neiman a lot.
I'm going to be interested to see it because I know against, I think the Giants, he played the most snaps of any linebacker, which is just, I mean, Spags needs to be arrested for that alone.
I saw Willie played a lot this week, though, and I think he had the most of any linebacker last week also.
I just remember that on third down a lot, they were taking Willie Gay out of the game for Ben Neiman, which was just so stupid. And I just felt like, I don't know if they covered. I don't know if they covered for him better tonight or gave him some help or what. I just don't remember seeing him a whole lot. But
yeah, he was in coverage in the middle of the field a lot. It's just Carr wasn't exploiting it. That's why you didn't see it. But yeah, he was on the field a lot.
All right. Well, yeah, again, I'll be interested to see the snap counts this week, not just for him, but for everyone, because I think we saw some change-ups tonight in quite a few spots. But yeah, all that being said, because I think the chat's getting a little slowed down. People are wanting to go to bed. I totally get it. It's 11:21 already. But thanks again for you guys that picked us tonight and decided to join the stream. And if you're watching this after the fact we're live, you can still like, share, subscribe, and leave some comments about what you guys thought about the game. And if you have any response to Hydra and I. But yeah, with all that being said, make sure you follow me on Twitter at JoshFan43, or you can follow at ShowMeFB, Show Me Football. And make sure to check back this week because I am planning on having more content out. I didn't have a ton of time this week and got a couple of videos out. And then also you guys can follow Hydra on Twitter, even though, again, he's on a Twitter hiatus right now. I'm sure he'll still appreciate gaining followers while he's gone. But yeah, Hydra, any parting words?
Fuck Ben Neiman.
There you have it. So we'll see y'all on the other side. It'll be an interesting game next week against the Cowboys. I'm actually pretty scared for that game because the Cowboys are rolling right now. Yeah. Even though they had that stinker against the Broncos, I don't really buy that. You see the way they steamrolled the Falcons this game. The Chiefs need to be ready to roll. They need to take this game and use it as momentum. But yeah, we'll talk about it as soon as it's all said and done again here next week. So we'll see y'all then. Peace.